Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. I got Saitama's physique and started to hunt down red hair pirates. Chapter 61. Hina had thought of many fighting scenes, but she had never thought of this situation. Of course, what shocked her the most was that half of the Cake Island almost fell apart under this move. Even the broken parts, not even a slag was left, all annihilated into nothingness. Watching this scene so closely, Hina's shock can be imagined. Under this terrifying black flash field, even the three generals and the two big bosses were blown dizzy. As for the other pirates, they had almost no resistance and were bombed to death by the endless black flash. Even if they were not killed by the black flash for the time being, they were still dizzy by the conquerors contained in the black flash. In that situation, it was hard to survive. Countless ability users and homies were almost all disabled and were dizzy and unable to move. Only a few people could resist. This black lightning contains a dizziness effect, and there is no way to escape. That Marine actually used such an advanced conqueror's technique. If this continues, we will definitely be defeated. No, we must fight back. With Katakuri's conquerors as the main force, Jin, Quinn, Smoothie, and Snag as the auxiliary force, they approached the core of the black flash field with difficulty. Looking at the black ball lightning getting closer and closer, the five people prepared to work together to destroy it. Before getting my permission, this experiment must continue. At this time, Luo Jia, who had been watching the show, glared. Buzz. In an instant, a black lightning as thick as a bucket bombarded the five people. Not good. Hide quickly. The five people's faces changed drastically, and they hurriedly tried to dodge. But because their bodies were stiff due to the dizziness, they could not completely avoid it. The five people were horrified, but it was too late. In the end, they were rushed by the black lightning. 1 minute later, finally everything calmed down. Although the black flash field only lasted for 1 minute, the destructive power it caused was very terrifying. Half of the Cake Island was shattered, and almost all the pirates except Bigmom were caught in one fell swoop. Is this the experiment the commander mentioned? This is too exaggerated. Hina's pretty face was full of shock. She was a little worried that Luo Jia could not handle it alone, but the opponent almost wiped out the entire Bigmom pirates with one move. In fact, it was almost wiped out. The entire Bigmom pirates, from ordinary pirates to the three generals and two big bosses. Almost no one was spared, all were severely hit by the black flash field, and were almost wiped out collectively. If Luo Jia had not just developed this move and was not proficient in using it, they would have turned into ashes long ago. Is it over? Looking at the mess ahead, Hina couldn't help but think of this thought. However, the next second, a roar of rage echoed from the center of the island. Luo Jia. This terrifying roar instantly shocked Hina. She looked forward immediately in shock. At this moment, on the broken Cake Island, Bigmom stood on a thundercloud. Although the previous Zeus had been destroyed, Bigmom created a stronger homies again. The name of the new homies is Hera, who is Bigmom's strongest homies now, even stronger than Zeus. At this time, Bigmom has fallen into another personality. Her hair was flying, like a madman. She had to be crazy. The pirates under her command were almost wiped out, and she was the only one left. This was simply the most serious blow she had suffered since she became a Four Emperors. She was the only one left in the Four Emperors pirate group. How tragic it was. Even if there was a war with other Four Emperors, there had never been such a tragic situation. And this was caused by one person. How can Bigmom not go crazy and run away? Luo Jia, I will make you pay the price. At this time, Bigmom became calmer, but at the same time, the murderous intent became stronger. She had to admit that she did not listen to Jin's warning at the beginning, which led to her heavy losses now. She did not expect Luo Jia to be so strong. The opponent wiped them out with just one move. Please, I have heard you say this, and my ears are already calloused. Can you have some new ideas in the lines? Luo Jia deliberately picked his ears with an impatient look. Although the black flash field did not kill Bigmom in seconds, it was not beyond his expectations. After all, Conqueror's Haki is only the power of this world. Using the power of this world to deal with the Four Emperors will definitely not be as effective as his own fists. If he uses his physical strength, it will not be as simple as blowing up half of the island. How shameless. Do you think you can defeat me like this? You are too naive. I am the four emperors, and the final victory must belong to me. As long as we get rid of you, it doesn't matter if the whole group is wiped out. As soon as the voice fell, Bigmom rushed directly to Luo Jia. She stepped on the Hera thunder cloud and waved the Napoleon sword in one hand. The sword was surrounded by lightning and Haki, which was extremely terrifying. Even if the Bigmom pirates were wiped out, as long as she was still there, the Bigmom pirates would not perish. As for Cake Island, it will be rebuilt afterwards. Looking at Bigmom rushing towards him, Luo Jia shook his head, not having any interest in fighting at all. Bigmom is very strong, there is no doubt about it, and she can definitely be ranked at the top of the world. But for Luo Jia, Bigmom is just like a small fish, and it only takes one punch to deal with her. Because it is boring, Luo Jia studied a black flash field, thinking about satisfying his addiction to fighting. Because he has found that as he becomes stronger and stronger, his desire for fighting is getting lower and lower. In other words, it is said that he can't get excited. When a person's strength reaches a certain height, he turns around and finds sadly that there is no one like him around him. That kind of detachment from the world and that kind of incompatibility really makes Luo Jia very uncomfortable. It was also at this time that Luo Jia realized a little bit of what teacher Saitama felt. Therefore, Luo Jia will work hard to improve the strength of the women around him, hoping that the distance between him and them will not be too far. After all, Luo Jia wants to be a person, not a high god. Well, I'll just use conquerors to fight today. Then the next moment, Luo Jia flashed and instantly came to the top of Bigmom. What? So fast? Bigmom's face changed. She had actually been using her observation Haki to sense. But she never expected that Luo Jia's speed was so fast that she couldn't catch his movements at all. But after all, they were four emperors, and Bigmom's nerves reacted very quickly. The blade instantly adjusted its direction and slashed at Luo Jia above. Among the four emperors, the strongest in strength was Whitebeard, the strongest in Haki was Red Hair, the strongest in physical skills was Kaido, but the strongest in talent was undoubtedly Bigmom. So no matter how fast Luo Jia was, Bigmom could react instantly. Oh, very good reaction. Luo Jia couldn't help but secretly praise, and his fist was instantly wrapped with black lightning to meet the attack. The conquerors contained in this punch was all of Luo Jia. So when this conquerors just appeared, Bigmom felt a palpitation. Conquerors of this level are probably better than Red Hairs. How did this guy do it? Bigmom didn't dare to hold back at all and immediately went all out to resist. But what shocked her was that she couldn't even block the opponent's punch. Luo Jia's fist instantly broke the Napoleon sword. As the black lightning rippled, the void twisted directly. Bigmom was blasted into the earth by this punch from a distance. Boom! The already dilapidated Cake Island was directly sunk by the impact of this punch. As for Bigmom, he was blasted into the depths of the earth and almost went to the bottom of the sea. I only used conquerors, the power doesn't need to be so exaggerated. Luo Jia looked at the damage caused by this punch and suddenly felt depressed. He swore, the punch just now definitely didn't use physical strength, it was just a simple conqueror's entanglement, and then a punch from a distance. But what he never expected was that the destructive power of this punch was also very pervert. With just one punch, Bigmom, the four emperors, had no power to resist and was directly blasted into the depths of the earth, almost dead. At this time, Luo Jia sensed Bigmom deep underground, and it seemed that there was still a trace of breath left. Forget it, let the headquarters finish off those who are not dead. Luo Jia shook his head. Anyway, he has lost interest in attacking those who are resistant again. This has nothing to do with good or evil, but just a mercy for the weak. Luo Jia flashed, and then he embraced Hina's waist and instantly returned to the deck of the G1 warship. At this moment, the Marines on the warship, and even Hina, are still in a state of confusion. Because everything ended too quickly, so quickly that they didn't react. Especially Hina, who was so shocked that she couldn't speak. Hey. That's 4 emperors BIGMOM. Just gone like that. Hina thought the two would have a fierce fight. But she never expected that under Luo Jia's punch, the 4 emperors were treated exactly like the soldiers, and were all killed in one punch. And what made Hina feel the most outrageous was that Luo Jia's punch also knocked BIGMOM into the ground nearly 1,000 meters deep. If BIGMOM didn't have the physique of a steel balloon, the punch just now would probably have blown her body up. Today, Hina witnessed a miracle. Luo Jia wiped out a 4 emperors pirate group alone, and it took less than 10 minutes. Hina didn't know how to describe such strength. Moreover, when this news spread to the sea, what will the world become, and what kind of wave will the era set off? Hina couldn't imagine these. Hina-chan, we should retreat. At this time, Luo Jia's voice came, pulling Hina's thoughts back to reality. Luo Jia stepped forward and embraced Hina, and gave an order to the Marines, and the two returned to the cabin. At this time, the Marines woke up from their dreams, but they still felt it was unreal. 10 minutes. The 4 Emperors pirate group is gone just like that. We are probably living in a dream. Naval Headquarters, Marineford. In the highest conference room, Marshal Sengoku, Hero Garp, Chief of Staff Crane, and the 3 Marine Admirals have gathered here. 2 months have passed. Since Luo Jia wiped out Kaido, he has been invading the Wangguo Sea without stopping. Now I don't know how it is going. But it is estimated that at this time, he should have contact with BIGMOM, but detailed information has not been sent back. Sengoku said in a deep voice. With Luo Jia's strength, it should not be a problem to deal with a mere BIGMOM pirate group. Aokiji took a sip of tea and spoke seriously. Big MOM is a very scary monster, but Luo Jia is also a monster. If 2 monsters fight, it will be a good show to watch this time. Kizaru teased. The Wangguo Sea ruled by the 4 emperors Big MOM is difficult for even the Marines' intelligence channels to penetrate. Therefore, it is extremely difficult for them to obtain intelligence. And Luo Jia has been in the Wangguo Sea for some time, and it is estimated that he should have come into direct contact with BIGMOM by now. As for the result, it has not been reported back yet, which makes Sengoku feel heavy-hearted. At this time, Akainu, who had been silent all the time, spoke. Humph. Luo Jia was reckless and impulsive. He rushed to invade the Wangguo waters without any plan or preparation. I guess he will fall this time. Akainu snorted coldly, and still had a great prejudice against Luo Jia in his heart. Sakazuki, be careful. Even if there is no intelligence from Wangguo, even if Luo Jia really falls, we must understand the intelligence and analyze the data in detail. Chief of Staff Suru crossed his hands and rested his chin. At least we need to know how much loss Luo Jia caused the BIGMOM pirates this time. Based on this data, we will summarize the experience, and the chances of winning next time will be greatly improved. Yes, although I don't like that guy, I recognize his strength. If we get detailed data this time, the initiative of the next cleanup will be in our hands. Akainu's face eased a little and nodded. Although Akainu was very resentful and prejudiced after being beaten by Luo Jia. But he clearly distinguished between public and private affairs, and would not disregard everything just because he disliked Luo Jia. However, in his opinion, Luo Jia's ability to severely damage the BIGMOM pirates was already the limit. As for wiping out the entire pirate group, it was almost impossible to accomplish. Let alone the scarcity of high-level combat power configuration of the G1 branch. Just say that the equipment configuration of the G1 branch warships is simply incomparable to that of the headquarters. Only Luo Jia would dare to face a 4 emperors pirate group like this. If another headquarters admiral went, let alone wiping out the opponent, I'm afraid he wouldn't even be able to retreat unscathed. Then, let's send another reconnaissance warship and news bird. Sengoku pondered and spoke. At this time, there was a knock on the door outside. Come in. Report to Marshal Sengoku. The latest information about the G1 branch base has been delivered. A Marine Rear Admiral walked in respectfully. Hearing this, several people present looked at each other and showed surprise. The latest intelligence came, which obviously showed that the G1 branch warship was not sunk. Otherwise, there would be no intelligence sent back. That guy is still alive. He is really a scourge for thousands of years. Hearing this news, Akainu's face immediately darkened. What are the detailed information? Sengoku looked solemn and asked the Marine Rear Admiral in a deep voice. There is no specific document information. They just directly transmitted the video recorded by the Video Den Den Mushi on the G1 branch warship. All the information is in it. The Marine Rear Admiral held a Video Den Den Mushi in his hand and answered Sengoku respectfully. Marine warships are generally equipped with various Den Den Mushi, among which the function of the Video Den Den Mushi is to record various intelligence information. Unless the warship is sunk, the Video Den Den Mushi will automatically record all the information. Video Den Den Mushi. Put it down. Chief of Staff Suru showed a hint of surprise. Yes. The Marine Rear Admiral put the Video Den Den Mushi on the conference table and left the meeting room respectfully. There is not even a document report. It is simply treating military discipline as a joke. Akainu, who always follows the rules, naturally cannot stand this way of doing things. Haha. With Luo Jia's personality, it is already very good that he can send the Video Den Den Mushi over. Don't forget that guy, he is full of personality just like me. Garp laughed while eating senbei. Humph, as a marine, you must be strict with yourself and be polite. Akainu snorted coldly. Everyone, please be quiet. Since this Video Den Den Mushi records the information we want to know, let's focus on this matter first. As he said, Chief of Staff Suru activated the Video Den Den Mushi. The next second, a picture was slowly projected on the screen, just like playing a movie, and the picture began to flow continuously. Akainu's face was still gloomy. He wanted to see what Luo Jia had done. However, when the projection was over, Akainu's expression finally changed, and his eyes were filled with shock. As a Marine Admiral, Akainu rarely showed such an expression. However, at this time, not only Akainu, but everyone present was also shocked. Aokiji exhaled bursts of cold air from his mouth, and he really took a breath of cold air. Kizaru's mouth was crooked, and his sunglasses were crooked. In short, the whole person was crooked. Garp kept eating senbei, but his mouth was wide open, and he forgot to close it. And the Chief of Staff, Suru, who was always the calmest, also showed a look of contemplation at this time. The content of the projection was not much, so it ended quickly. And the last picture was that Luo Jia punched Bigmom into the depths of the earth with one punch, and it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. The projection picture stopped here. At this moment, the whole conference room fell into silence. No one spoke at this time, because they were all in deep thought. At the same time, a thought flashed through their minds. This sea is really going to be windy. A few days later, countless newspapers were scattered all over the world like snowflakes. After a brief silence, the whole world was boiling. Countless news reports flooded all over the world, and almost everyone who saw the newspaper on that day was shocked. They were all wondering if today was April Fool's Day, or if they were still living in a dream. In short, everyone around the world was shocked on this day. New World, Dressrosa. In the palace, Doflamingo held today's newspaper and couldn't calm down for a long time. That monster. This time, Doflamingo couldn't smile anymore. Alabasta, Baroque Works, President's Office. Luo Jia, a man who can't be provoked. Crocodile held a piece of information in his hand, and his mood was almost the same as Doflamingo's. Krikana Island, ruins of the kingdom of Gyar in the west. A gloomy castle stood, and Hawkeye with one arm was sitting in one of the rooms, holding today's newspaper in his hand. Luo Jia. When Hawkeye saw the content of the newspaper, he touched his broken arm and whispered softly. New World, Moby Dick. Kulala. Luo Jia actually killed Bigmom, that guy is really a monster. Whitebeard drank a lot of wine while laughing up to the sky. Dad, are we really not going to make any preparations? That guy has dealt with Bigmom, it should be our turn next. This time, Marco was no longer calm. Not only him, but all the captains of the squads were shocked and couldn't believe it. So, they asked Whitebeard for his opinion with a look of trepidation. Kulala. Luo Jia is very strong, but I am Whitebeard. If he wants to fight, then fight, I will never lose. Whitebeard's face was full of heroism, but his heart was extremely heavy. That's right, no matter how strong Luo Jia is, he can't beat Dad. Seeing Whitebeard's heroic look, Marco and others also breathed a sigh of relief. Dad is the strongest man in the world. Luo Jia can defeat Bigmom, and Dad can do the same. Thinking of this, the captains laughed again. If there is any pirate group on this sea that dares to say that they can defeat Bigmom, then it must be the Whitebeard pirates. As the king of pirates, Whitebeard has reached the pinnacle of this world. Although there is only one word difference between the king of pirates and One Piece, the value of the king of pirates is definitely not inferior to that of One Piece, and even more so. One Piece refers to the king who conquered the sea. The king of pirates refers to the king who conquered all pirates. It can be seen that it is reasonable for Whitebeard to be recognized as the strongest in the world. In fact, in the eyes of the Whitebeard group, the other three emperors are just juniors. No matter their qualifications or strength, it is difficult to compare with Whitebeard. So in their concept, Whitebeard is above the four emperors. Just as the captains were chatting with Whitebeard, in an inconspicuous corner of the ship, Blackbeard was holding a newspaper, his face full of shock. Is there really such a strong person in this world? Blackbeard's eyes were full of ambition. As long as I can find that fruit, there may be a chance to seize his power in the future. New World, Dreyfus, hiss. Luo Jia made big news again this time. This guy really won't stop at all. Looking at the newspaper in his hand, the red-haired man took a breath of cold air. He was really scared. Beckman, what do you think? Usopp looked at Ben Beckman with a solemn face. Luo Jia is the only man I can't see through at the moment. I think we should wait and see. It's best not to have too much contact with him. Beckman took a puff of cigarette, his expression was very serious. Hearing Beckman's words, everyone present was silent for a while. Even the red-haired man who had some friendship with Luo Jia began to think about this problem seriously. I'm sure you've all seen the video of the battle that's been circulated. Beckman flicked his cigarette butt and looked at the people around him. This guy's conquerors is probably stronger than Shanks. For someone with such haki, will his ambition be so simple? So, let's stay away from him. When the whole world was boiling, Luo Jia and Hina, who were returning, had already done several rounds of exercise. At this time, they were staying in the room leisurely. Hoo-hoo, Commander, are the remnants of Bigmom really gone? Hina took 2 breaths, with a somewhat tangled expression. Well, they can survive desperately in my hands, that is also their good fortune. In that case, I am also happy to give them a way out. And my mission is basically completed. The rest of the finishing work will be handed over to the naval headquarters, so that they don't have nothing to do every day. Luo Jia put on his clothes and wiped the sweat on his body with a towel. Speaking of which, the people in this world are indeed very tenacious in physique and vitality. Luo Jia didn't expect that those guys were hit by his black flash field, and some of them survived tenaciously. Not only them, but even Bigmom, who was hit by his black flash fist in the air, did not die completely. This was quite unexpected to him. It was probably Bigmom's steel balloon physique that saved her life at a critical moment. It was also because Bigmom did not die completely that the Bigmom pirates were not completely wiped out. So when Luo Jia left Cake Island, the war did not end there. After learning that the Bigmom pirates were not completely wiped out, the naval headquarters decisively launched an annihilation war against them. However, although the Bigmom pirates were crippled by Luo Jia, they were not easily wiped out. For this reason, the naval headquarters also sent 2 marine admirals and assembled 5,000 marine elites to clear them out. For a while, the 2 forces fought each other upside down, and the entire Wangguo Sea became a battlefield. When the war broke out, part of the world's attention was focused on the war. The other part was focused on the G1 branch base, or in other words, all focused on Luo Jia. In fact, at the beginning, when Luo Jia issued a military order to wipe out the 4 emperors, countless forces just regarded it as a joke and didn't care at all. But who dares to think so now? He defeated Red Hair, killed Kaido, and now defeated Bigmom. This record is like a legend. Because of this, almost everyone from the world's nobles to the common people is familiar with the name Luo Jia. Moreover, because the power displayed by Luo Jia is too heaven-defying, the world government dare not offend him. In terms of personal influence and deterrence, Luo Jia is more feared by the world government than all the 4 emperors. Although Luo Jia did not really wipe out the BIGMOM pirates in this clearing operation. But anyone with a discerning eye can see that Luo Jia is just too lazy to do it again. The strength he showed in this battle not only silenced the naval headquarters but also silenced the world government. For a moment, they didn't know how to deal with Luo Jia next. But when they thought that Luo Jia seemed to be colliding with the last and strongest 4 emperors next, they unanimously decided to continue to wait and see. A week later, the G1 branch warship successfully returned to the base for replenishment. During the process of the warship replenishment, Luo Jia's mind sounded the system prompt again. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing a personal achievement defeating BIGMOM, the current task evaluation is excellent. Ding! Congratulations on completing a personal achievement defeating the BIGMOM pirate group, the current evaluation is excellent. Ding! Reward host mutual love card +2. Ding! Reward host physical strengthening card +2. Ding! Reward host hockey proficiency card +2. Ding! Reward host hypnosis +1. Ding! Reward host brainwashing card +1. Ding! Life limiter release progress 21%. 2 excellent evaluations, the system rewarded 8 cards. If Luo Jia killed all the BIGMOM members, the evaluation would probably be too perfect, that is, 10 cards would be rewarded. Not bad. Luo Jia shook his head, but he didn't feel sorry. Luo Jia only kept 3 brainwashing cards and hypnosis cards, and 2 mutual affection cards. As for the 2 physical enhancement cards and 2 hockey proficiency cards, Luo Jia planned to give them to Hina and Ain. That night, after the 2 women merged the cards, their strength surged again. In order to test their fighting power, Luo Jia had a fierce fight with them that night. I have to say, after the physical fitness of the 2 women was strengthened, not only did their fighting power increase greatly, but their endurance and stamina also became stronger. The 2 women worked together and not only withstood Luo Jia's fierce attack, but they almost turned the tables. Fortunately, at the last moment, Luo Jia burst out with even stronger fighting power and killed the 2 women without a single piece of armor left. The battle continued, but the night gradually receded. Unknowingly, the morning came and the sun shone on the sea. The 3 fought for a whole night, and finally Luo Jia was willing to give up until the 2 women were exhausted. At the same time, not only was there a war going on in Luo Jia, but there was also a war going on in the Huangguo Sea. On Coco Island, an extremely tragic war was breaking out. There were constant roars, magma erupting all over the sky, and endless golden light shining. The sky was covered with dark clouds, and lightning fell from time to time, colliding with the golden light of the magma. At this moment, Akainu and Kizaru led 5,000 elite marines and were fighting a fierce battle with the half-crippled BIGMOM pirates. Of the 34 large islands in the Huangguo Sea, 32 have been destroyed by marine. As for the last island, Coco Island, Akainu and Kizaru have been unable to capture it for a long time. Even though the BIGMOM pirates were crippled by Luo Jia, they have not fully recovered yet. But they are still the 4 emperors after all. What's more, BIGMOM, the 3 admiral stars, the 2 big bosses, the chef, and dozens of ministers are still alive. They are just seriously injured. Although their combat effectiveness has decreased, at least they are not lambs to be slaughtered. Therefore, it is still very difficult for marine to completely wipe them out. Boom! Akainu used a meteor volcano bombing to try to sink the entire island. But a lightning suddenly struck from the sky, instantly offsetting Akainu's attack. Seeing this scene, Akainu cursed. He looked up at Homizahara, who was constantly striking with lightning in the sky, with an extremely ugly expression. At this time, a golden beam of light descended and appeared next to Akainu. It was the actor Kizaru. Sakazuki, BIGMOM's counterattack is too fierce, it's time for us to retreat. And we have lost half of our elites. If we continue to fight like this, we will not be able to explain to the headquarters. Kizaru's old face was a little solemn. Are we going to miss this great opportunity? Akainu clenched his fists, his heart full of resentment, and the magma under his feet burned the earth. Although we have the upper hand, if we force BIGMOM into a corner, she will certainly die, but at least one of us will be dragged down by her to cover the corpse. Kizaru shook his head helplessly. If there is one more Admiral-level fighter, the BIGMOM pirates will be completely wiped out. But you also know that this is impossible. The naval headquarters must have an admiral in charge, otherwise there will be big problems. This time, the headquarters can send us out at the same time, which is a great determination. And this time BIGMOM is injured and it is impossible for him to recover in a short time. Let's retreat first, and after we regroup, we will fight again another day. Kizaru was rarely smart and analyzed the current situation for Akainu. Akainu was very annoyed, but he knew that Kizaru's analysis was correct. But he was unwilling to accept it. Seeing that the BIGMOM pirates were at the end of their rope, they only needed to work harder to completely crush them. But there was only one straw missing. But in fact, he could see that Kizaru didn't intend to fight BIGMOM at all. And if he fought alone, it would not be enough to crush the BIGMOM pirates. So, this is what Akainu was annoyed about. As for Kizaru himself, he is actually not interested in destroying the BIGMOM pirates. With this kind of time, it is better to drink tea, gamble, look at photos in the office, and then collect the salary at the end of the month to go out for a leisurely walk. Isn't it nice to live like this? It is tiring to fight and kill so hard. All troops, listen to the order, retreat. Akainu was angry and frustrated, but he finally listened to Kizaru's advice and led Marine to retreat. Seeing this, the remnants of the BIGMOM pirates did not pursue, but breathed a sigh of relief. If it were in the past, they would definitely not give up easily. But after being crushed by Luogia, their bodies and minds were already overwhelmed. Even the three generals and the big boss, who were determined, were afraid of Marine at this time. Of course, this Marine was limited to someone. On the other side, Akainu's low roar came from the Marine warship that was gradually moving away from the battlefield. Luogia could have wiped out all the members of the BIGMOM pirates and completely eliminated all future troubles. But he showed mercy and deliberately let the enemy go. Doesn't he know that being kind to the enemy is cruel to his own people? The elite Marines who died on the battlefield today all died in vain because of his stupid decision. Akainu stood on the deck, venting his dissatisfaction angrily. Sakazuki, you are too serious. After all, without Luogia, we wouldn't have such an opportunity. Kizaru's expression was relaxed, and it was completely impossible to tell that he had just experienced a big battle, which formed a sharp contrast with the somewhat embarrassed Akainu. The vicious pirates should be killed to eliminate future troubles. Luogia has let the pirates go more than once or twice. He is playing with the justice of the Marines. Moreover, that guy deliberately left such a mess for us, but ran back to the base to watch the show. Is there a Marine like him? Akainu's face became darker and darker, and his voice became lower and lower. And that guy's next target is the Whitebeard pirates. If the mess here is not cleaned up, the naval headquarters will have no time to deal with the rampaging Whitebeard pirates. We must wipe out the Big Mom pirates as soon as possible before that, so that we can free up our hands to deal with Whitebeard. At this point, Akainu's expression was very heavy, as if he had seen a very bad situation. I need support. Contact the headquarters as soon as possible. Akainu turned his head and looked at the adjutant on the side. Yes, the adjutant stood at attention and accepted the order. New World, Moby Dick. At this time, a panicked shout came from the ship. Dad, it's bad. I saw the former Spade crew member, the fishman Wallace, running over in a hurry, his face full of urgency. At this time, Marco came over and stopped him with his hand. Wallace, calm down, what happened? Marco looked at the panicked Wallace, frowned, and shouted in a deep voice. Captain Marco, Ace left. What, left? Where did Ace go? Marco widened his eyes and couldn't help questioning Wallace. Ace, he said he was going to defeat Luogia. I thought he was just talking at first. The fishman Wallace's tone was a little low. Ace, you idiot. Hearing this, Marco immediately went to find Whitebeard. Dad, Ace went to find Luogia, what should we do? As soon as these words fell, a strange silence suddenly appeared on the entire deck. When everyone heard the news that Ace left and went to find Luogia, almost everyone stopped what they were doing and subconsciously looked at Whitebeard. At the same time, an invisible depression permeated the ship. In today's sea, the name Luo Jie is in full swing, and there is a tendency to surpass Whitebeard. After defeating the 3 emperors in a row, Luo Jie's prestige has reached its peak. If Whitebeard is the king of pirates, then Luo Jie is the king of marine. The king of marine is the king who holds justice, and the representative figure is Sengoku. And the king of marine is the king of all marines, it's that simple. And with the exposure of the military order, the whole world has known Luo Jie's last goal. Whitebeard pirates. Before the Great Pirates era, the Whitebeard pirates were ranked as the strongest pirates together with the Roger pirates. Until today's Great Pirates era, after the dissolution of the Roger pirates, the Whitebeard pirates are even more known as the world's strongest pirates. Compared with the other 3 emperors, Whitebeard carries a deeper prestige. After all, for 20 years, Whitebeard has been standing on the throne of the world's strongest, and almost no one can shake it. However, in the past 2 years, under the deliberate propaganda of marine and world government, Luo Jie's prestige has been vaguely comparable to Whitebeard. Almost everyone in the world knows that there is an invincible marine named Luo Jie. As long as Luo Jie also defeats Whitebeard, the new world's strongest will be born. Even the old crew members of the Whitebeard pirates are terrified of Luo Jie's power. Not to mention those newcomers, who are almost worried every day. After all, the reason why those captains can remain calm is because they are strong. But those weaker pirates, in this level of battle, are mostly not even cannon fodder. So in the face of such a terrible situation, they can't stay calm at all. At this time, Whitebeard, who had been sitting on the deck, suddenly stood up slowly. As Whitebeard stood up, a terrifying aura that looked down on all directions rose up, making the calm sea turbulent and dispersing the white clouds in the sky. As long as you get on my ship, you are my family. Since you call me Dad, I have the obligation and responsibility to protect you. Ace, that idiot, dared to look down on me. I won't let him off this time. G1 Branch Base. The G1 Branch warship that Luo Jie was riding on left the G1 Branch base under the secret attention of countless forces. As for who his target is, no need to guess, everyone knows that it will be the last emperor, the world's strongest man Whitebeard. Whitebeard's territory is the largest among the 4 emperors. For example, the Fishmen Island at the entrance of New World belongs to Whitebeard's territory. Even Bigmom, although he loves the deserts of the Fishmen Island, has never dared to start. In the final analysis, she is still unwilling to offend Whitebeard. Today, the name of Whitebeard is no longer just a pirate. It is also a protective umbrella, protecting countless islands in this sea. Although 20 years have passed, Whitebeard is now 70 years old, but no one dares to underestimate him. Even if he is old and sick, no one can shake his throne as the strongest man in the world. Although Luo Jie's record is heaven-defying, Whitebeard's prestige is even more deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. So in the eyes of countless people, Whitebeard is definitely strong enough to fight against Luo Jie. Perhaps, only Whitebeard is qualified to fight against Luo Jie. This battle of the century has attracted the attention of the world without even Marine deliberately promoting it. Countless people are either uneasy, or in awe, or worship, or at a loss. But there is one thing that everyone has in common, that is, expectation of what kind of brilliant sparks will be sparked by this strongest collision in the world. And what kind of changes will this era produce because of the collision between the two? No matter the outcome of this battle, Luo Jie's name will go down in history. I can't believe that the military order that was made as a joke has now caused a huge wave on the sea, directly affecting the whole world and even the whole era. In this final battle, the names of Luo Jie and Whitebeard will become legends. Countless people looked at the sea from afar, feeling deeply moved. On the G1 Branch warship, Luo Jie is exercising in the training room. 100 push-ups, 100 push-ups, 100 squats, have become his daily compulsory courses. On the other side, Hina and Ain are only wearing a vest and are also sweating profusely while exercising. Although Hina is a capable person, she has a certain attainment in swordsmanship. In addition, she has fused the Great Swordsman's ultimate card, which makes her progress rapidly in swordsmanship. If she can skillfully cooperate with the Devil Fruit ability, it won't take long for Hina's strength to officially enter the Admiral level. As for Ain, she is not interested in swordsmanship, but has a high talent for firearms. Especially after awakening conquerors, she conceived of wrapping bullets around conquerors, and then she can kill the enemy with one shot from a distance. At that time, there will be the fruit of retreat for close combat and conquerors' bullets for long-range combat. Ain's strength will surely usher in a period of rapid growth. One practices swordsmanship, and the other practices conqueror's entanglement. Both women were very serious and hardworking. In the final analysis, they all wanted to be Luo Jia's helpers, not just of Ace. The two women were sweating profusely, their vests were soaked with sweat, and they immediately showed their beautiful curves. Luo Jia's eyes were full of appreciation, without any obscenity. After all, they were already an old couple, and Luo Jia could not be obsessed with lust. Moreover, Luo Jia's realm was close to God, and he could control his emotions at will. So, Luo Jia could be as calm as Shisui when he wanted, and wild and unrestrained when he wanted. It was all in his mind, as he wanted. Entangle! Ain shouted. A strand of conquerors wrapped around her pistol, but it could not wrap around the bullet. Luo Jia had been observing from the side, and found that Ain had never succeeded, and frowned slightly. Ain was not him after all. Although she had fused the card, she still had a long way to go to completely master conquerors. After all, being able to practice does not mean being able to control. Luffy in the original work did not know Conqueror's Coil, but after Kaido's explanation, he instantly understood and mastered it. This is cheating, a slip of the tongue, it's talent. Ain does not have this talent, so her progress is inevitably a bit disappointing. Hina has a talent for swordsmanship, and it is estimated that it will not take long for her to reach the level of a swordsman. Ain, take a break first. Luo Jia said softly. I'm very sorry, sir, I still can't master Conqueror's Coil. Ain was a little ashamed and frustrated. You have tried your best. This thing requires talent, not just practice. Luo Jia shook his head, not disappointed. At this stage, even if Ain has not mastered Conqueror's Coil, her strength is already an admiral candidate. It is better to let her focus on developing the fruit ability. Maybe in the future, she can fuse a Devil Fruit Awakening card, and Ain will definitely become an admiral level. I seem to have heard teacher Zephyr say before that conquerors are born with it and cannot be enhanced by training. This really depends on talent. Hearing this, Ain nodded with relief in her heart. In fact, Ain's talent in observation hockey is very high, but her armament hockey and conquerors are very average. In the future, she will probably focus on observation hockey and fruit ability. At this moment, Luo Jia's face suddenly froze, and her eyes looked at the sea outside the window. What's wrong? Seeing Luo Jia's strangeness, Hina and Ain stopped their actions and subconsciously looked out the window. But they didn't find anything. There was only the sea and seagulls outside the window. Go wash up first, change into a set of kawaii clothes, and then come to the deck. Luo Jia smiled at the two women, and then walked out of the room directly. Kawaii. The commander is so bad. Ain's pretty face was flushed, but she was secretly happy in her heart. In fact, she had already decided which dress she wanted to wear, which was not only cute but also pure. Humph, I won't listen to him. Hina snorted rather arrogantly. However, she had already started to think in her heart that she would choose a dress that was both cute and hot. The two women had different thoughts, but they did not show them, just to compete for favor. On the other side, on the deck of the warship. Interesting, this idiot is here. Luo Jia looked at the sea in the distance, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. At this time, there was a small boat on the sea, rowing towards the G1 branch warship. Although Luo Jia did not have the observation hockey, his physical perception was extremely amazing. Even if the hostility was thousands of meters away, Luo Jia could easily sense it. As for the person who was hostile to him, Luo Jia was not unfamiliar, and in a sense, he was very familiar with him. He was the Fire Fist Ace. It was estimated that there was only about a year before Luffy went to sea. Ace had joined the Whitebeard Pirates at this time, and might have become the captain of the second team. With Ace's personality, Luo Jia didn't need to guess what the other party was up to, he already knew it quite well. Another filial son, but it also proves from the side that Whitebeard's personality charm is very strong. Looking at the small boat in the distance, Luo Jia smiled slightly. At the same time, The Marines also found the boat and immediately reported it to Luo Jia. At this time, Ain and Hina had also changed their clothes and walked out together. One's clothes are so big, and the other's clothes are so white. It seems, tonight will be another exciting night. Luo Jia shook his head and sighed. Fortunately, it was him. If it were an ordinary person, he would probably have been overwhelmed. Perhaps only children would choose to have both, but adults know that they can't bear it. Seeing the surprise in Luo Jia's eyes, Hina and Ain smiled proudly in their hearts. Then, the two women put on marine cloaks to hide their proud capital, and Luo Jia retracted his gaze. That's Fire Fist Ace, the captain of the second team of the Whitebeard Pirates. What is he doing here? Ain's observation Haki also discovered Ace at the first time. This guy, is he trying to stop the commander? Hina was surprised. The whole world knows that Luo Jia's next target is Whitebeard. At this time, the captain of the second division of the Whitebeard Pirates took the initiative to come to the door, which naturally made people have such thoughts. It's not just Ace the Fire Fist, there is another person in the sea. Luo Jia shook his head, and the smile on his face became brighter. There is another one in the sea. Hina looked confused. It's true. Ain's observation Haki seemed to have discovered something. At the same time, on the other side of the boat, Ace lowered his hat confidently, and there was no panic in his eyes. We're almost there, Jinbei. Wait, don't act rashly, this is between him and me, I don't want to implicate you. Ace looked at the sea and said a few words to the other side inexplicably. Brother Ace, you don't regard me as a friend. Although Luo Jia Vice Admiral is also a Marine that I admire very much, my father is the person I respect the most. I will never allow anyone to hurt my father. In the sea, Jinbei said firmly while pushing the boat to sail. I was wrong, I apologize to you. Ace laughed heartily. No need to apologize. If we are still alive this time, you can drink with me. Jinbei also laughed heartily, but his eyes were unusually solemn. It seems that you are very pessimistic, Jinbei. Don't worry, I promise to stop him. Ace's eyes showed a hint of pride. Although he defeated 3 emperors, if he wants to deal with my father, he must get through me first. Even if I will die here today, I will not retreat or complain at all. Jinbei's eyes were full of determination. Hearing this, Ace grinned. For Jinbei, Ace regarded him as a companion from the bottom of his heart, a very reliable companion. Brother Ace, let me take you up. Seeing that they were getting closer and closer to the G1 branch warship, Jinbei spoke to Ace. Come on. Hearing Jinbei's words, Ace was not afraid at all. Sea current one-handed over shoulder throw. Jinbei waved his hand underwater, and a sea current wrapped Ace and rose towards the G1 branch warship. Hualala. In the rushing water, a column of flames suddenly erupted, instantly steaming the water. Then countless flames slowly gathered, reorganized the body of Fire Fist Ace, and appeared on the deck. On the other side, Jinbei also jumped up from the water and landed on the deck right after him. Fire Fist Ace, Sea Knight Jinbei. The Marines on the warship instantly recognized their identities. If it were normal, these Marines would definitely be scared when they saw such a big pirate. But now, none of them felt afraid. In the final analysis, it was because there was a man on this warship. An invincible man. As long as he was there, let alone Fire Fist Ace Sea Knight Jinbei, even if Whitebeard came in person, they would not be at all inferior. Jinbei, as the 7 warlords of the sea, you dare to openly violate the rules and get so close to the people of the Whitebeard Pirates. Do you want to rebel against Shichibukai? Luo Jia crossed his arms and looked at the two with a smile. As for the 2 women standing next to Luo Jia, they took a fighting stance. As long as the 2 dared to act rashly, the 2 women would take care of them at any time. If in the past, Hina and Ain also had a certain fear of Shichibukai. But now, of course, they can't have any fear. Let alone facing Shichibukai, even facing 4 emperors Whitebeard, they would not hesitate. Luo Jia Vice Admiral, I'm here to stop you, I hope you can stop. Jinbei's tone was firm and pleading. Oh, give me a reason. Luo Jia looked at Jinbei indifferently. You have defeated 3 sea emperors in a row. If you continue like this, the whole world may fall into great turmoil. Jinbei said very seriously. Turmoil. That's your pirates' turmoil, what does it have to do with us Marines? And the military order I issued was to destroy the 4 emperors. I've always been a man of my word, so of course I have to fulfill my promises. Luo Jia laughed up to the sky. In fact, the most important thing is that I am very bored, and I want to find some fun to relieve my boredom. And destroying the 4 emperors is the greatest fun. Luo Jia showed an expectant look on his face. Since he found himself getting stronger and stronger, Luo Jia slowly developed a boredom. When he issued that military order, in fact, part of it was to accumulate military merits, and part of it was to shut Akainu up. But the biggest reason was to find some fun to relieve his boredom. However, this sentence was too incredible for the 2 of them. Find some fun. Defeating 3 sea emperors in a row, just to find some fun. What an international joke. Jinbei, don't waste your words, let's just do it. Ace's whole body was blazing with flames, and his eyes looking at Luo Jia were full of fighting spirit. Brother Ace. Jinbei's heart was complicated, and he didn't expect Luo Jia's answer to be so fresh and refined. However, he was not a fool like Ace. Jinbei knew how terrifying Luo Jia was better than Ace. Even though Ace ate the Mera Mera fruit and was as strong as Shichibukai. But the gap between Ace and Luo Jia was still as huge as a chasm. Since you are unwilling to give in, then I will have to offend you. At this point, Jinbei had no choice but to take action. Are you sure you want to attack me? Luo Jia's tone was calm, but it put great pressure on Jinbei. Luo Jia, if you want to deal with my father, you must get past me first. Ace shouted. Fire fist. Ace's fist blasted out, instantly turning into a huge flame fist, rushing towards Luo Jia. Even the entire G1 branch warship was within the attack range of the fire fist. Oh no! Seeing this scene, the Marines couldn't help but exclaimed. Although they were not afraid of Ace and Jinbei, they still instinctively felt panic when they faced such a terrible attack. It's too weak. Your fire is only good for barbecue. Looking at the incoming fist of fire, Luo Jia shook his head in disappointment, and then his eyes flashed. Thunderbolt. A black lightning suddenly cut through the void. The huge fist of fire suddenly stagnated, and then, under the horrified gaze of everyone, it instantly disintegrated. Poof! Ace was also caught in it, and his body was directly blown away by the black flash, and he spit out a mouthful of blood in the air. Impossible! Ace hit the railing of the ship, and a look of shock appeared in his eyes. Just now, he hadn't seen clearly what happened, and he was suddenly blown away by a terrifying force. He clearly saw that Luo Jia didn't do anything. What happened just now? As for the other side, Ain and Hina's observation haki caught Jinbei in advance, and they couldn't help but exclaimed. Captain, be careful. The 2 women were ready to activate their abilities. But the whole sea suddenly surged wildly, a huge current rose, and then turned into a waterspout to hit. Water heart sea flow shoulder throw. The person who made this move was naturally the Sea Knight Jinbei. Jinbei knew that he could not beat Luo Jia head-on, so he jumped back into the sea and tried to destroy the G1 branch warship to stop Luo Jia. Hina and Ain looked ugly. They made a wrong judgment because of their excessive concern for Luo Jia. It turned out that Jinbei's target was never Luo Jia himself, but this G1 branch warship. The waterspout roared down, and the next moment it was going to submerge the entire G1 branch warship. Well, this looks good. Seeing this scene, Luo Jia's eyes were still calm, as if he didn't care at all. Well done, Jinbei. Ace was very excited, wiped the bloodline from the corner of his mouth, and rushed up again without hesitation. He was not worried that he would lose his foothold after the warship was destroyed. Because Jinbei was taking care of him, he believed that he would definitely not be drowned. Great Flame Ring Flame Emperor. Ace immediately opened fire and directly used his most powerful move. Because he knew that ordinary attacks would be useless against Luo Jia, and only by using the ultimate move would there be a chance of winning. A fireball like the sun rose up, and the terrifying flames seemed to destroy everything. Such a large-scale attack made Hina and Ain's pretty faces change slightly, and the Marines were frightened and turned pale. Hee, young man, don't play with fire in front of me, it's very dangerous. As Luo Jia finished speaking, the raging flames seemed to tremble, and they didn't dare to burn towards Luo Jia. This scene shocked Ace's mind, and he once again felt the horror of Luo Jia. One sentence made his flames retreat. Ace dared not hesitate anymore, holding the sun-like fireball and throwing it towards Luojia's position. At this moment, the terrifying heat evaporated the seawater, emitting water vapor all over the sky. Countless Marines were horrified, and they all felt that they were in a furnace. You are too weak. Looking at this powerful attack, Luojia didn't even have the desire to fight, he just snapped his fingers casually. A black lightning appeared out of thin air and instantly fell into the giant fireball. Buzz! The next second, the black lightning expanded inside the fireball, suddenly turned into a black flash field, and swallowed up the fireball. This time, Ace directly lost control of Yan Di. Chapter 71. My Emperor Yan was annihilated. Impossible, what is that? Seeing this scene, Ace showed a look of horror on his face. It was incredible that the flame could be annihilated. I told you, you are too weak, so weak that you haven't even fully exerted the true power of Mera Mera fruit. Luojia shook his head, extremely disappointed. In fact, the upper limit of Mera Mera fruit, like sparkling fruit, has the potential to pervert. If developed deeply enough, the temperature of Mera Mera fruit will definitely be higher than that of lava fruit. It's the same old saying, strength is never about the fruit itself, but about the person. The black flash field gradually shrank, and finally turned into a small ball of lightning, suspended in Luojia's palm. Luojia lightly touched the ball of lightning, and a ray of black lightning suddenly overflowed from the void, shooting towards Ace at a high speed. Mirror fire flame. Ace quickly adjusted his mentality and swung a wall of flames from his arm. The two forces suddenly collided, and the black lightning instantly penetrated the flame wall and hit Ace. What kind of power is this? Ace was horrified and was knocked back dozens of meters again, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Moreover, the part hit by the black lightning this time could not be elementalized. Even more, Ace felt weak all over, and his brain was dizzy. At this moment, Ace really felt the great terror of Luojia. The opponent's several understated moves made him feel the horror of the abyss. From the time Yan Di was swallowed by the black flash field to Ace being knocked back by the black flash, the process was only 3 seconds. But what happened in these 3 seconds has already made all the Marines sluggish. At this time, Ace half knelt on the ground, covering his chest with one hand, and coughing up blood. And when he looked at Luojia, in addition to shock, there was also a hint of fear. If Luojia beat him with his fists, he would not be surprised, because he knew that Luojia's strongest weapon was his fists. Whether it was Red Hair, Hawkeye, Kaido, Bigmom or other strong men, they all lost to Luojia's fist. But did Luojia punch? No, Luojia didn't even move his feet, he just stood there and snapped his fingers. Then, he lost. And he lost miserably. Although he was willful, he was not a fool, and he was naturally very clear about the huge gap between him and Luojia. It's just that he has a courageous heart, so no matter how strong the enemy is, he will never be afraid. Since he ate the Mera Mera fruit, Ace has never been afraid of anyone. Even when he challenged his father, he was completely beaten throughout the whole process, and he didn't have the idea of fear. But today, he felt fear in Luojia. What kind of power is this? Ace couldn't help but tremble and speak, with a hint of bitterness in his tone. In fact, you also have this thing, that is Conqueror's Haki. Luojia gathered his 5 fingers together, and the black flash field suspended in the palm of his hand was instantly extinguished. Conqueror's Haki. Ace was stunned. In his impression, Conqueror's Haki only broke out once when he was a child to save Luffy unconsciously. In addition, he had just joined the Whitebeard pirates not long ago, and it is estimated that Whitebeard did not have time to teach him the skills of Haki. However, it also proved Ace's terrible talent from the side. Just relying on a Mera Mera fruit, he could rival Jinbei. If he learned Conqueror's Haki, his strength would probably be comparable to Admiral. And more importantly, Ace is too young. In the next few decades, it will be his rapid growth period. But at this moment, Ace didn't think about these things in his mind. Because for the first time, he felt that he was a frog in the well, and he didn't know the height of the world. It was also from this moment that he deeply realized what the power of the peak of the sea was. Before coming, Ace was full of confidence, but when he really faced Luojia, he realized how insignificant he was. The battle between Luo Jia and Ace only lasted for 3 seconds, and at this time the waterspout finally fell. Brother Ace, can't even last 3 seconds. Although Jinbei was in the sea, he could sense everything clearly with his observation color. Because he was clear, Jinbei was even more shocked. Luo Jia actually defeated Ace, who was equal to him, in a blink of an eye. This kind of power is simply unreasonable. However, Ace finally delayed for 3 seconds. These 3 seconds were enough for the waterspout to destroy the warship. Brother Ace, I won't let your efforts go to waste. Jinbei waved his hands in the water, and the waterspout exploded, destroying the warship in the next moment. Depend on you, Jinbei. Seeing the roaring waterspout, Ace finally smiled. Although he failed to beat Luo Jia, he at least stopped him from moving forward. Oh no, it's too late to stop it. Ain and Hina's pretty faces changed, and they could only watch the waterspout rush down. Because their attention was focused on the battle between Luo Jia and Ace, their reaction stagnated again. As for the ordinary Marines, they were even more horrified. If the entire warship was destroyed, they might drown in the sea. Everyone had different expressions, but Luo Jia was the only one who remained calm. Destroy the warship in front of me. You are probably living in a dream, smiling in the sky. Luo Jia's tone was full of teasing. As soon as the voice fell, Luo Jia put his 2 fingers together and used the long-lost eagle hand. The ultra-high-speed frequency vibrating fingers gently passed through the void in front. This finger seemed to have no power, but the next moment, layers of air ripples spread. This finger shook the air. Almost instantly, the seawater within a radius of 500 meters was instantly shaken away. A bowl-shaped concave sea area was formed around it, and the entire warship was suspended above it. Seeing this scene, Jinbei's expression suddenly froze. Then, blood mist gushed out of his pores all over his body, and his bones creaked. Finally, Jinbei spat out a large mouthful of blood and sank into the seabed. It was obvious that he was seriously injured by this move. The whole place was silent. The seawater gathered again and filled up the sunken sea area. The sea area was filled up, but everyone's mood fell into a blank. Is this shock fruit ability? How is it possible? Isn't this Daddy's ability? Ace was smiling the moment before, but his expression froze and his eyes were dull the next moment. Why can Luo Jia also use Daddy's shock power? Ace looked at Luo Jia dully. Is this guy still a human? Not only Ace, Jinbei, Hina, Ain, and the Marines present all felt incredible. The shock power exerted by physical strength alone is not inferior to Whitebeard. How incredible is this? Ahem, is this the difference in strength? Jinbei was bleeding all over his body, and his heart was shocked. Is the gap really that big? On the G1 branch warship. Sir, how come you can still use the shock wave? Hina asked in surprise. Haha, surprised. Actually, the real purpose of that move just now is not only used in combat, but also in our sports. I'll let you experience it when we get a chance. Luo Jia put away the hand that was used to add pain to the eagle, and smiled at the 2 women inexplicably. I guess they will never forget it. Hearing this, Hina and Ain blushed. Luo Jia smiled without saying anything, and then looked at the dejected Ace. Being passionate does not mean being willful. You should know how to consider the consequences when you do things. Don't let others clean up your mess when you get into trouble. Quote. Luo Jia really couldn't appreciate Ace's willfulness. He ignored the crew's advice and went after Blackbeard alone. He thought he was defeated and captured by Blackbeard, which led to the Summit War. Whitebeard died in the battle, and his strength was replaced by Blackbeard. In the end, because of his impulsiveness, he was successfully killed by Akainu, which made Whitebeard's sacrifice in vain. Even if Ace restrained his willfulness, the final result would not be so bad. Now, Ace actually used this willfulness on him. If it weren't for Garp, Luo Jia would have slapped him to death long ago. If Ace doesn't know what's good for him next, Luo Jia doesn't mind slapping him to death. Am I willful? Hearing Luo Jia's words, Ace couldn't help but remain silent. It turns out that this is how he is seen by others. He still feels good about himself and always thinks he is the protagonist. But today, Luo Jia made Ace really recognize himself. Sir, do we need to tie him up? Hina looked at Ace who was looking down. Let's tie him up, and then we'll go to the nearby island and wait. Luo Jia stopped looking at Ace and turned to look at the distant sea. Wait, Hina and Ain looked at each other, somewhat confused. It's estimated that it won't be long before there will be guests. Luo Jia signaled a marine to take the warship to the 10 large islands nearby. After handcuffing Ace with Seastone, the warship began to land on the nearby large islands. It happened that there was a cliff on this large island, so Luo Jia ordered the marine to tie Ace to the cliff. After most of the day, a dark shadow slowly appeared at the end of the sea. Finally here, Luo Jia grinned, his face full of anticipation. Hina and Ain noticed Luo Jia's expression and couldn't help but look in the direction of his sight. As that, the Whitebeard pirates. The two girls' faces changed, and the Marines were also shocked. At this moment, the atmosphere suddenly became heavy. Ace also noticed this, and raised his head with some difficulty, looking at the end of the sea in the distance. When he saw the black shadow, Ace gradually opened his mouth and his eyes were wet. Of course he recognized the black shadow, it was the Moby Dick. As the Moby Dick approached, the figures standing on the deck gradually became clear. A terrifying pressure descended and crushed the entire island. This was not the pressure of one person, but the people of the entire pirate group, twisting their momentum into one, perfectly merging into a terrible pressure. The pressure was like a mountain torrent, as if it was going to submerge everything on the island. Our guests are here, get ready to greet them. Luo Jia stood on the cliff with his arms around his chest, overlooking everything. Whitebeard pirates. Hina and Ain couldn't help but take a deep breath, and a solemn look appeared in their beautiful eyes. Before the Whitebeard pirates approached the island, the terrifying pressure emitted invisibly had already made everyone breathless. The two women were better, after all, they were strong. But those ordinary Marines were different. Seeing this scene, some Marines began to tremble and almost knelt down in fear. Look, this is the consequence of your willfulness. Luo Jia stood on the cliff, and Ace was kneeling next to him. Ace didn't answer, because he was already trapped in self-blame, his face full of pain. You will not live if you do evil. Luo Jia shook his head, without any mercy. If you do something wrong, you have to take responsibility. But when the guests come, you want to give me, the host, a warning. Our guests are a bit overshadowing. The terrifying pressure fell on Luo Jia, and it didn't have any effect at all. Even if the opponent's pressure was 10 or 100 times stronger, it would not be able to suppress him. Just like an ant can move a small stone, but can it move a mountain? There was silence on the sea. The island became extremely quiet, and even the animals on the island chose to hide, as if some disaster was about to befall. At the same time, there are already countless video news birds around this island. At this moment, the eyes of the whole world are focused here. Naval Headquarters, the highest conference room. Quote. Sengoku is watching this scene through the video Den Mushi on the G1 branch warship. Even though he is a Marine Marshal, he can't help but feel nervous when seeing this world-class collision. His relationship with Whitebeard is just like the relationship between Garp and Roger. As old enemies, they have fought countless times. Therefore, Sengoku knows very well how terrifying Whitebeard's power is. It's not an exaggeration to say that it is enough to destroy the world. However, this time, Whitebeard's opponent is Luo Jia, a Marine who is also known as invincible by the world. Thinking of this, Sengoku inexplicably breathed a sigh of relief. At the same time, he was once again glad for his original decision. At the same time, countless news birds also passed the intelligence images to various forces and spread them to each other. At this moment, countless people were extremely nervous. Even if they were the king of a country, or the emperor of the underground, the leader of the Revolutionary Army, or even the 7 warlords of the sea. They all held their breath, fearing to miss every moment that followed. On the other side, the Moby Dick finally landed on the island, and the countless footsteps on the deck were particularly obvious. Led by Whitebeard, 16 squad leaders followed. Whitebeard, wearing a pirate cloak and holding a Kusukumogiri naginata in his hand, strode onto the island. With every step he took, the bottom of the naginata would hit the ground once, making a shocking sound, as if hitting everyone's heart. Kulala. We finally meet, Luo Jia Kid. Arriving at the center of the island, Whitebeard looked up at the top of the cliff. Behind Whitebeard, all the squad leaders also looked up. Some of them looked at Ace, and some stared at Luo Jia. It should be a good idea to choose this island as the destination of your Whitebeard pirates. Luo Jia stood on the top of the cliff, looking down at Whitebeard. Kulala. What a shameless brat, but my son Ace seems to have been taught a lesson by you. Whitebeard's eyes flashed with a sharpness. You're welcome. Luo Jia shrugged. Dad, it's all my fault for being willful. Ace couldn't help crying when he heard what Whitebeard said. Ace. Whitebeard shouted at Ace. I asked you to go, but you suffered. Whether right or wrong, Whitebeard would always protect his family at the first time. Naked protection. Quote. Ace gritted his teeth and choked a little. Ace, since your mission has been completed, you should come back. Marco shouted at Ace. As soon as the voice fell, everyone in the Whitebeard Pirates group looked at Luo Jia. Even Whitebeard was staring at Luo Jia. Ace gritted his teeth at the scene, and he subconsciously glanced at Luo Jia. Jia, and then jumped directly off the cliff. Sir, are you just going to let him go? Seeing this scene, Hina couldn't help but speak. Let him go. Luo Jia waved his hand, never looking at Ace, but staring at Whitebeard the whole time. The captains were actually secretly ready to take action at any time. But what surprised them was that Luo Jia let Ace go so easily and let Ace jump off the cliff. Kulala. This style is exactly the same as that old guy Garp. Whitebeard couldn't help laughing up to the sky. Hee hee. Garp, that unreliable old guy, I'm not like him. Luo Jia grinned. If Garp heard Luo Jia's evaluation of him, he would probably be so angry that smoke came out of his head on the spot, and then fight Luo Jia again. At this time, Ace, who had returned to the Whitebeard Pirates, bowed his head in shame to everyone. Then, Ace remembered the seriously injured Jinbei again. Vista. Help Jinbei. Ace was weak all over, so he asked for help from the flower sword Vista. Vista nodded, shouted, and slashed the sea with a knife. The seawater was cut in half and spread all the way, revealing Jinbei below. Jinbei saw the seawater being divided by Vista, so he gritted his teeth and rushed out from the bottom of the sea, and finally landed on the shore with difficulty. However, at this time, he could hardly stand steadily, his internal organs were dislocated, and he almost died in the sea. As a fishman, if he died in the sea, it would be a world wonder. Jinbei, I'm sorry. Ace showed a trace of apology. 0. If it weren't for his willfulness, how could Jinbei suffer such suffering and almost lose his life? Brother Ace, don't blame yourself. Jinbei shook his head, then turned to look at the cliff. Since the farce is over, then next, it's time for the real show to be staged. Luo Jia looked down at everyone and spoke lightly. Luo Jia's tone was very calm, but the terrifying aura he exuded invisibly carried a sense of invincibility. Under this invincible momentum, Luo Jia's originally not tall figure, but overlooking the whole world like a giant. Although Luo Jia has not made a move, this pressure has made everyone breathless. It is also thanks to the fact that they are the Whitebeard Pirates. If it were ordinary pirates, they would have kneeled on the spot. Such momentum is indeed in line with the title of Invincible Marine. Feeling Luo Jia's invincible momentum, Whitebeard's face began to become solemn. The next moment, Whitebeard suddenly raised Kurigane Kiri, and a group of white light waves condensed on the blade. Luo Jia is a marine, and Whitebeard is a pirate. Then there is no need to say anything between the two, just start fighting directly. Whitebeard waved Kurigane Kiri and slashed towards Luo Jia. Crack! The space shattered like a mirror, and then an unstoppable bombardment came, as if to shake Luo Jia into nothingness. The space was actually cracked. It really deserves to be praised as the power to destroy the world. Hina and Ain were shocked. If they were to block this knife, they would probably be seriously injured if not killed, so the only rational thing to do was to avoid it. However, although this force was strong, the two women remained calm. Because they always believed in Luo Jia. The power is very good, enough to be worthy of the title of the strongest in the world. But it's just good. Luo Jia looked lightly, casually stretched out his finger, and flicked it forward. A group of shock waves penetrated the void and suddenly bombarded forward. Finally, the shock wave and the shock wave collided with each other. Boom! A thunderous roar came, and the sea within 1,000 meters rolled, forming a tsunami hundreds of meters high. Not only the tsunami, but also the clouds in the sky were shaken out with a big hole, as if it went straight to the end of the sky. This collision seemed to have pierced the whole world. When the roar stopped and the tsunami finally subsided, everyone immediately looked at the situation in the field. No matter who they were, they all showed nervousness at this time. In the field, Whitebeard had retreated dozens of meters without knowing when, and a trace was pulled under his feet. And behind Whitebeard, a strait appeared out of thin air, running through the end of the horizon. Oh, did it miss? Luo Jia still stood on the top of the cliff, and their side was almost unaffected. In other words, Luo Jia completely blocked Whitebeard's attack. At least that's what everyone thought. Dad's attack was actually blocked. Luo Jia is so powerful. Seeing this scene, the captains all showed solemn expressions on their faces. As Whitebeard's sons, they certainly knew how terrifying Whitebeard's power was. Even though Whitebeard is old now, his strength still exceeds the admiral level. Even Kaido of the Beast still had to kneel in front of Whitebeard's power. It is conceivable that Luo Jia's easy counteraction of this attack had a huge impact on them. Whitebeard, don't tell me that you are only this good. I will be very disappointed. Luo Jia suddenly took a step forward, fell from the cliff, and came to the ground of the island. Marco, you lead them all back. Whitebeard stomped his hands and suddenly spoke to Marco and the others. Dad, Marco was shocked, and then took a deep breath. We will only hinder Dad here, let's retreat. As he spoke, Marco took the lead to retreat. However, there was a trace of worry in Marco's eyes. If it was Whitebeard in his prime, Marco would not have any worries even if he faced any enemy. But the current Whitebeard is old after all. Can Dad defeat Luo Jia? Marco shook his head fiercely and threw away this thought. I must always believe that Dad is the strongest. Luo Jia ignored Marco and the others and focused all his attention on Whitebeard. Hidden injuries have accumulated seriously, his body functions have deteriorated, and he is gradually aging. Luo Jia shook his head and thought it was a pity. If the opponent could be 20 years younger, then this battle would be a bit interesting. It's a pity that there is no if. But at the same time, Luo Jia was also Whitebeard had a little respect. In fact, in the world of pirates, there are many means and methods to heal hidden injuries, delay aging, and even achieve immortality. With Whitebeard's strength and influence, if he is determined to find them, he can definitely find these means and methods. But he never did so, which shows that Whitebeard simply disdains it. Such a magnanimity and mind are worthy of Luo Jia's high regard. After Marco and the others retreated to a relatively far place, Basie looked at Luo Jia again. After a brief pause, this century's battle finally ushered in the next round again. Whitebeard's shock force is extremely destructive and has a wide range of influence. Sengoku said that he has the power to destroy the world, which is definitely not an exaggeration. At his peak, Whitebeard could definitely destroy a country with a full-strength attack. Look at the knife. Whitebeard dragged Kusunokiri and jumped up. The blade was not only wrapped with shockwave, but also with Conqueror's Haki, and then chopped down fiercely at Luo Jia. At this time, Whitebeard had already gone all out, and the power he burst out was twice as strong as before. Haha, this is more like it. Luo Jia finally laughed up to the sky, and seeing the powerful knife in front of him, he chopped it with his palm. The hand knife collided with Kusunokiri in the air, and countless purple-black lightning shot out of the void, and even a sound of metal clashing broke out. Then, the whole island shook violently. Almost in an instant, everyone could no longer see Luo Jia and Whitebeard. Because the impact of the collision between the two directly distorted the void, causing high stones to rise from the ground. A moment later, a tall figure crashed through the stones, flew back hundreds of meters, and almost fell into the sea. This scene fell into the eyes of countless people, and immediately set off a huge wave in their hearts. In the fight just now, Whitebeard was actually knocked away. This is impossible. The captains of the Whitebeard pirates collectively showed an expression of disbelief when they saw this. Dad was actually knocked away. And Luo Jia was not only unscathed, but his feet did not even move a bit. The edge of the island. Whitebeard coughed up blood and supported his body with Kusugawa Kirigiri to avoid falling down completely. And the blade of Kusugawa Kirigiri was actually sunken. It turned out that in the collision just now, Kusugawa Kirigiri was cut into a gap by Luojia's hand knife. The scene of almost breaking the supreme sword with the strength of the flesh really shocked Whitebeard. Quote. Whitebeard's eyes were extremely solemn. In the collision just now, he clearly felt the horror of Luojia. As powerful as he was, he also felt an absolute gap at this time. Whitebeard didn't know whether he could defeat Luojia in his peak period. But now, he can at least be 100% sure that he can't defeat Luojia. But who is he? He is Whitebeard, known as the strongest man in the world. Even though he knew he was no match for him, he would never back down. Whitebeard shouted, rushed towards Luojia again, and punched him. Whitebeard has rich combat experience, and has reached the pinnacle of the use of Conqueror's Haki and Shock Fruit. This punch is wrapped with Shock Force and two-color Haki, and this punch is enough to easily destroy an island. Haha, well done. Luojia's fighting spirit was finally ignited, and a hint of excitement flashed across his eyes. Facing Whitebeard's punch, Luojia also punched out. But this time, Luojia only used Conqueror's Haki. Then, under the horrified gaze of countless people, the two fists collided fiercely in the void. Because both of them were wrapped with Conquerors, the two fists did not hit each other, but were 2 meters apart. Boom! The terrain of the island under the feet of the two people was completely changed, and countless huge rocks rose from the ground. At the same time, the aftermath spread to an unknown number of thousands of meters of sea area, the air was compressed and distorted, and the clouds in the sky had long disappeared. Whether it was the captain of the Whitebeard pirates, or Hina and Ain, even if they were standing far away, they were still affected. One by one, they were blown away by the aftermath, but fortunately they were all strong, so they barely managed to stay stable. But at this time, everyone was already stunned, and was shocked by the power of the collision between the two. Whitebeard resisted the impact, his feet had sunk into the ground, and then he was pushed back again. Whitebeard plowed a gully of several hundred meters on the ground, and his body finally stopped. At this time, Whitebeard's clothes were torn, revealing crisscrossing scars and blood oozing from his pores. In this head-on collision, Whitebeard was obviously defeated. What was shocking was that Luojia remained motionless and unscathed. Seeing this scene, the captains were stunned. Not only them, but even Sengoku, who was far away at the naval headquarters, was shocked. Before the Great Pirate Era, he had fought with Whitebeard countless times, and his fear of Whitebeard had long been deep in his bones. It was precisely because he knew how terrible Whitebeard was that Sengoku felt that this scene was particularly shocking. With just one punch, Whitebeard was pushed back hundreds of meters, and it seemed that he was seriously injured. All this seemed so incredible to Sengoku. It can perfectly combine the power of shock and the two-color overlord, and the power has almost reached the level of breaking space. Very good. Luojia slowly retracted his fist, his face full of admiration. With Whitebeard's combat power level, if it were placed in a low-level martial arts world, it would probably be a void-breaking existence. But in this world, it is just a violent space. But even so, it is estimated that few people can withstand it. The only person who can compete with Whitebeard is probably Garp. Even in a pure power competition, Whitebeard is probably stronger than Garp. After all, the title of the strongest man in the world is not called for nothing. Quote. Exclamation mark. Quote. Dad, Marco and other captains immediately exclaimed and even prepared to rush over. Marco, stop! Whitebeard roared and immediately stopped everyone from approaching. Then, Whitebeard walked out of the mud step by step. Although he was knocked back hundreds of meters by Luojia's punch, he even suffered serious internal injuries. But his spirit and will became more condensed, and his aura became more violent. When seeing Whitebeard like this, Marco and others were worried and helpless, so they had to stop their steps to support him. Luojia, you are really a monster. It's a pity that you are not in the same era as us. Whitebeard's expression returned to calm, but he was shocked and regretful to Luojia in his heart. If he could meet a strong opponent like Luojia when he was young, it would be such a passionate time. Haha, you should be glad that I was not born in your era. Because I am afraid that if I am not careful, I will beat you all into autism. Luojia laughed loudly, with absolute confidence in his tone. Kulala, You are even more arrogant than Roger, but lousy likes it. Whitebeard also laughed up to the sky, with an indescribably heroic look. The next moment, Whitebeard's face became serious, and his eyes shot out a sharp look. At this moment, Whitebeard seemed to have returned to his youth, back to his peak state. I have been looking forward to such a battle for a long time. After saying this, Whitebeard's Kurogiri condensed a brilliant white light and black lightning. The power was 10 times stronger than the previous punch. Whitebeard strode forward, dragging Kurogiri and slashing at Luo Jia. This slash was a bit like the dragging sword technique. With one knife, life and death are separated. What a knife! Faced with this earth-shattering knife, Luo Jia's eyes lit up and he exclaimed in amazement. Whitebeard's knife has already touched the limit of the world. It's not that Whitebeard doesn't want to continue to increase his power, but because of the limitations of this world, his power is limited to this. It's impossible to truly break the void, and of course it's impossible to truly transcend the world. Faced with this knife, Luo Jia can easily block it without using all his strength. But out of respect for the strong, Luo Jia finally threw a serious punch. The fist and knife were several meters apart, and they bombarded the void at the same time. At this moment, the space collapsed directly, and even a terrifying distortion appeared. The power that erupted in it is estimated that even if Kaido of the beasts came, they would be blasted into pieces. Countless purple-black lightning filled the air, making it difficult to look directly, and some people instinctively closed their eyes. There was no aftermath, because the space collapsed. There was no roar, because the sound had been annihilated. When everything cleared up, everyone could only see half of the island sinking, the thick dark clouds dissipated, and the blue sky was revealed. The most horrifying thing was that from beginning to end, Luo Jia's feet did not move at all. And, the half of the island behind Luo Jia also became intact. Under the sunlight, the picture seemed to be split in half. This, power. Whitebeard looked at Luo Jia in front of him and suddenly felt a sense of distance. The two seemed to be in two different dimensions, so far away that they could not be touched at all. Finally, the next moment, Whitebeard's cloud was shattered, and he flew backwards. And in the process of flying backwards, a lot of blood mist continued to spray from his body. If you listen carefully, the bones in his body were also breaking. This time, Whitebeard flew backwards for more than 1,000 meters and finally fell into the sea. Dad, Marco and others were horrified and rushed to rescue him like crazy. At this time, no one paid attention to Luo Jia. Their attention was all on Whitebeard. So far, you are the first and only strong man who can force me to use 30% of my strength. Whitebeard, I recognize you. Luo Jia slowly retracted his fist, but did not continue to pursue. Whitebeard proved himself to Luo Jia, and Luo Jia also had a little respect for him. Maybe Whitebeard's strength is not as good as Luo Jia, but Luo Jia respects Whitebeard's mind, will, spirit, and indomitable spirit. This is a real strong man. As for the countless people who watched this scene through the video Den Den Mushi, they were also silent. The final result of this battle is already obvious. The world's strongest man Whitebeard, defeated. Whitebeard, who has been the world's strongest for decades, was finally pulled down from the altar today. From now on, the title of the world's strongest will officially change hands. Luo Jia is the new world's strongest. At this moment, the whole world is silent. On the distant coast, everyone finally pulled Whitebeard ashore. Cough, cough, cough. Whitebeard kept coughing, coughing up a lot of blood, while Marco supported him. Whitebeard waved his hand, indicating that he didn't need anyone to support him, then broke free from Marco and looked forward. Seeing his father so stubborn, Marco had no choice but to obey. At this time, some people were looking at Whitebeard nervously, fearing that he would have an accident. As for the other part, they stared at Luo Jia, fearing that he would suddenly attack. As the king of the sea, Whitebeard has been invincible for decades and has witnessed the changes of several eras. Whether it is the Sea Overlord Rocks or the Pirate King Roger, Whitebeard has the confidence to compete and even defeat them. But today's battle made Whitebeard feel deeply powerless for the first time. Even though his will is still firm, his body is aging after all. Whitebeard also knows that with the changes of the times, his title of the strongest will sooner or later be replaced by others. And he will also gradually drown in the torrent of history as time goes by. But when this scene really came, Whitebeard found that he was very unwilling. Although he was unwilling, Whitebeard had no regrets in his heart. Being able to grow up with his family all the way, even to the last moment, Whitebeard is already very satisfied. The journey ends here. Whitebeard wiped the bloodline from the corner of his mouth and raised a heroic smile on his face. It was exactly the same smile Roger had before his execution. Whitebeard took slow steps and continued to walk towards Luo Jia firmly. Dad, Dad. Seeing this scene, everyone's faces were filled with sorrow. Especially Ace, who was already in tears. But they couldn't stop him because it was Whitebeard's will. If they stopped Whitebeard, it would be like tarnishing his will. Sons, thank you for your company on my journey. I'm proud of you. Whitebeard glanced at them, his face full of pride. To have such a group of family members, Whitebeard actually died without regrets. Now Whitebeard just wants a glorious ending. He knows that if he continues to fight Luo Jia, the final outcome is only death. But he is Whitebeard. Even if he dies, he can't retreat. No regrets. Seeing the carefreeness on Whitebeard's face, Luo Jia was also infected by him and smiled. At this moment, it seemed that only Luo Jia and Whitebeard were left in the world. The two looked at each other and saw appreciation in each other's eyes. Luo Jia was quite touched by Whitebeard. Whitebeard is a truly upright man. He is qualified to be respected by Luo Jia. At this moment, Whitebeard and Luo Jia looked at each other from a distance. Whitebeard, do you know the consequences of fighting again? Luo Jia said in a deep tone, looking directly at Whitebeard. Kulala, as a marine, you don't want to let the pirates go, do you? If you want to fight, then fight. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Whitebeard grinned, raised his fist and punched forward, shaking the earth with a terrifying momentum. Alas, in that case, I respect your choice. Luo Jia sighed and punched out as well. And this time, he finally used his physical strength. The next second, two earth-shaking forces collided, and the world suddenly fell into daylight. Dad, Marco and Ace screamed in pain, tears blurring their eyes. After a moment, the daylight disappeared. Whitebeard still stood firm, but his life force had completely disappeared. Respectable opponent. Luo Jia shook his head, and with a flicker of his figure, he returned to the G1 branch warship. Sir, seeing Luo Jia coming back, Hina and Ain immediately recovered from the shock. But despite this, their hearts were still surging and could not calm down. The people of the Whitebeard pirates were still scattered by the aftermath, and some of them were even blown away. But for them, Luo Jia no longer had the idea of killing them all. Let's go. Luo Jia shook his head and ordered his subordinates to drive the warship away. Ah, don't we wipe out the Whitebeard pirates? Hina estimated that the Whitebeard pirates could be completely wiped out, so she whispered to Luo Jia. Forget it, just give Whitebeard a face. Luo Jia shook his head. Seeing that Luo Jia was a little depressed, he had to give up. So, sir, are we going back to the base? At this time, Ain asked softly. Well, let's go back. After saying that, Luo Jia walked directly to the cabin. After the two women gave their orders to their subordinates, they followed Luo Jia into the cabin. They also saw Luo Jia's depression, and in order to cheer him up as soon as possible, they decided to comfort him. As for how to comfort him, they are the most experienced. Even though they saw Luo Jia leaving like this, the people of the Whitebeard pirates did not come up to stop them. Because at this moment, they had already knelt beside Whitebeard and cried bitterly, ignoring Luo Jia and the others. Of course, there were also people who cried falsely. He was Blackbeard hiding in the corner. Dad died in battle at this time. Unless I can get the dark fruit now, I can't take away Dad's ability at all. Blackbeard's eyes were blurred with tears on the surface, but he was gnashing his teeth secretly. With the departure of Luo Jia, this world-renowned war finally ended with Whitebeard's defeat. When the news spread throughout the sea, it did not cause a big uproar like before. Instead, the whole sea was strangely silent. When Luo Jia defeated Red Hair and Big Mom, and even killed Kaido of the Beasts, the whole world had gone from being shocked at the beginning to being numb now. So, when they learned that Luo Jia had killed Whitebeard, everyone was just silent. It was not that they did not want to express their shock, but that they were so numb that they did not know what to say. Among them, Sengoku and Garp and others were also included. After a period of silence, countless people had the same thought in their minds. This era belongs to Luo Jia. See Circle Calendar 1519, that is, the 21st year of the Great Pirate Era. The G1 branch base and the Whitebeard pirates broke out in the waters of the New World. In this battle, Whitebeard, known as the strongest man in the world, was defeated, and the person who ended Whitebeard, his name was Luo Jia. Unknowingly, a week passed. On this day, the sea surface was sparkling. In this vast sea, the G1 branch warship is returning to the base. In the cabin on the top of the warship, Luo Jia is taking a bath in the bathroom, leaning against the edge of the bathtub and resting his eyes. Through the open door, you can vaguely see the different scenery in the bedroom. After killing Whitebeard, the G1 branch warship returned to the base unimpeded and is about to arrive. In the week of returning, Luo Jia has slowly returned to his original state from his initial depression. In the final analysis, it is thanks to the careful comfort of Hina and Ain. For a whole week, the three of them did not leave the cabin and were together almost every moment. These days, Luo Jia was in a bad mood, so he exercised to relieve his boredom. The two women also accompanied him in exercise, because they loved Luo Jia deeply and were willing to tolerate everything about him. So under this tolerance, Luo Jia slowly recovered. Alas, I still can't cultivate my state of mind. Although Luo Jia's power is enough to destroy the world, his state of mind seems to have not kept up with the progress of the past. Just killing a person he respected personally made Luo Jia's state of mind restless, which was really not right. At this time, the system prompt sound rang in Luo Jia's mind again. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing a personal achievement and killing Whitebeard. The current mission completion is perfect. Ding! Reward host critical hit chance card +1. Ding! Reward host physical toughness card +1. Ding! Reward host love at first sight card +1. Ding! Reward host armament emission card +1. Ding! Reward host observation upgrade card +1. Ding! Life limiter release progress 26%. Luo Jia temporarily put away these cards and did not fuse them with the two women. Because of excessive forcing, the control of power is harmful rather than beneficial. The two women still need to digest the previously fused cards for a while before they can fuse the next card. And these cards are still useless to Luo Jia himself. After all, his physical strength has surpassed the world, even time is difficult to shake. So he doesn't need to add unnecessary things and fuse any messy abilities. A moment later, Luo Jia walked out of the bathroom with a bath towel. Sir. At this time, Hina, who was already dressed neatly, came forward with a document in her hand and handed it to Luo Jia. This is the new appointment letter from the world government for you. New appointment letter. Luo Jia glanced at the document and threw it on the table without paying any attention. Sir, that is the Marine Admiral appointment letter issued by the world government. Seeing this scene, Hina was a little speechless. Among the Marines, the top is undoubtedly the Marine Marshal and the 3 Marines. The 5 elders only gave Luo Jia a position as the head of the branch base before. But after Luo Jia defeated the 4 emperors in succession and showed almost invincible power, the 5 elders unanimously decided to promote Luo Jia to Marine Admiral. In fact, this is also the means of the 5 elders. It not only shows enough respect for Luo Jia, but also ties Luo Jia to the world government. It's just an admiral. Luo Jia said indifferently. He is actually not interested in power. The reason why he strives for power is nothing more than not wanting to be inferior to others. However, the experience during this period made Luo Jia understand a truth. In the face of absolute power, power has no meaning at all. Hina was a little speechless. In her opinion, this was already the highest honor. But Luo Jia's attitude was neither cold nor indifferent, which clearly showed that he didn't care about the position of Marine Admiral. But on second thought, Hina was fascinated by Luo Jia's attitude of treating power as nothing, and she admired Luo Jia more and more in her heart. Treating power as nothing, such a personality charm is really fascinating. In addition, Hina herself loved Luo Jia deeply, which can be said to have directly triggered her point, making her want to melt Luo Jia into her body. Seeing Hina's appearance, Luo Jia already knew that the other party was moved. Without saying a word, Luo Jia immediately pulled Hina and rushed into the bathroom. However, just when the two were about to fight, a domineering voice came from outside. Luo Jia, little devil. Lousy finally found you, lousy get out. Being interrupted at the critical moment, Luo Jia narrowed his eyes and his murderous intent surged. Since his interest had been ruined, Luo Jia simply put on his clothes and walked out of the warship. He wanted to see who was so brave and arrogant in front of him. A moment later, the deck of the warship was full of Marines. When they saw Luo Jia coming out, all the Marines saluted and made way. At the same time, Luo Jia looked forward. In the air, a figure floated, overlooking the whole scene. This person had long golden hair, half a rudder stuck on his head, and his legs were actually two sharp samurai swords. Who is he? Many Marines were confused now. But Hina and Ain's pretty faces changed. One of them was a mid-level Marine, and the other was a disciple of Zephyr. Of course, they easily recognized the identity of this person. It turned out to be him. Golden Lion Shiki. How could he appear here? The two women recognized the Golden Lion and couldn't help but exclaimed on the spot. When the other Marines heard this title, they were stunned at first and felt a little familiar. Then they all thought of something, and immediately showed horror on their faces. It turned out to be him, Golden Lion Shiki, one of the 3 legendary pirates. Some Marine veterans almost knelt on the spot when they thought of this terrifying existence. Before the Great Pirate Era began, there were 3 great pirates standing at the top of the sea. They were Whitebeard, Roger, and Golden Lion. Among them, Whitebeard was the strongest, Golden Lion was the most powerful, and Roger was destined to be the Pirate King. Because in the end, only Roger successfully reached the top and became the Pirate King. After that, he followed the destiny and opened the Great Pirate Era. Although he lost to Roger, Golden Lion's strength still made the world government afraid of him. Because after Roger surrendered, Golden Lion could not accept the fact and attacked the entire naval headquarters alone. It was a pity that he was defeated by Garp and Sengoku and was eventually imprisoned in Impel Down. But even so, Golden Lion destroyed half of naval headquarters. Not only that, he was also the first pirate in the history of Impel Down to successfully escape from prison. You can imagine how perverted Golden Lion is. They never expected that the legendary pirate Golden Lion, who had disappeared for nearly 20 years, would appear again today. I didn't expect my old friend, Whitebeard, who has ruled the sea for decades, would eventually die at the hands of a Marine kid. This is a shame for the remnants of our old era. Golden Lion stood in the sky, with several small islands floating behind him, looking coldly at the warships below. This terrible formation of Golden Lion instantly gave everyone a great pressure. Golden Lion, I think you want to die. Luo Jia looked up at Golden Lion, with a hint of coldness in his eyes. Hee, it's you who will die. Golden Lion smiled coldly, his eyes full of grimness. He didn't waste any words, and waved his hand directly, and saw that several islands floating in the air instantly fell towards the warships below. It seems, you really want to die. Looking at this scene, Luo Jia showed murderous intent on his face. This was also the first time that he really showed murderous intent to a pirate. Not only did the other party ruin his fun, but he even dared to run over his head and throw islands. What is this? This is a naked provocation. Looking at these falling islands, Luo Jia's face was indifferent, and he punched directly. The next second, all those falling islands were frozen in midair, and then exploded like fireworks. Ha, you are quite capable, no wonder Whitebeard was defeated by a little devil like you. Golden Lion's eyes flickered slightly. He stood in the sky, looking down, with a condescending tone. Although Luo Jia defeated Whitebeard, in the eyes of Golden Lion, Luo Jia was still just a little devil. After a loud bang, all those islands had been blown up, and countless fragments fell on the sea. Luo Jia slowly closed his fist and looked at the Golden Lion floating in the air. Luo Jia had the intention to kill just now because of Golden Lion's words, which showed that his state of mind was still a little insufficient, so he immediately adjusted his mentality. Luo Jia closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and then slowly opened his eyes. At this time, his eyes were indifferent, and he looked at Golden Lion as if he was looking at weeds on the roadside. Since it's just a weed, I'll just pull it out. Since Golden Lion dared to come over to seek justice for Whitebeard, he must be prepared to be eliminated. Seeing Luo Jia's expression, Hina and Aang were relieved. Between anger and reason, the mentality produced by the two is completely different. Before Luo Jia was furious, they were afraid that something bad would happen. Fortunately, he calmed down now, and finally let the two women breathe a sigh of relief. Ha ha ha, Luo Jia, you are very good, so let's play slowly in the future. Golden Lion laughed up to the sky and prepared to leave. The reason why he troubled Luo Jia was mainly to confirm a piece of information. Was Whitebeard really defeated by the other party, or did he voluntarily die like Roger? Golden Lion has always been upset about this, so he showed up to test Luo Jia. If Luo Jia can't take the blow just now, then Golden Lion will kill him. Even if the other party takes it, it doesn't matter, the initiative is still in his hands. After all, Golden Lion has the ability of lion fruit, and ordinary people really can't do anything to him. However, when he saw Luo Jia blasting several islands with one punch, Golden Lion's face immediately changed, and he secretly thought that Whitebeard's defeat was not unfair. Since he has already got the answer he wants, there is no need for Golden Lion to stay. He is not a fool. Since Luo Jia can really beat Whitebeard, he can definitely beat him. So if he doesn't run away now, when will he? You are pretending to be tough in front of me, and you still want to run away. You are dreaming, Luo Jia sneered, and then a black ball of lightning condensed in his palm and threw it directly to the ground. Black flash field, a black sky opened, and then countless black lightning fell from the clouds. What the hell is this? The Golden Lion was about to fly away and was secretly shocked. But at this time, the area within 100 meters was instantly surrounded by black lightning, and he couldn't leave even if he wanted to. The next second, countless black lightnings burst out in the air. Golden Lion screamed, and was immediately numb and dizzy, almost falling from the sky. Fortunately, he had a strong will and used all his strength to barely keep floating. As this, Conqueror's materialization, Golden Lion was shocked. Conqueror's materialization is a realm that even he has not mastered. Not only him, but also Whitebeard, Roger and other top masters have not mastered it. Golden Lion has only mastered Conqueror's entanglement, but it is enough to increase his strength several times. As for the more advanced materialization than Conqueror's entanglement, he has only seen it in Rox, the former sea tyrant. That is a power close to God. Unexpectedly, he will see it again in Luo Jia today. Golden Lion held on for a moment, but still couldn't withstand the bombardment of the black flash field. In the end, he was shot down, like a golden meteor falling from the sky. Boom! Under the dull gazes of countless people, the Golden Lion, which was just so majestic, crashed into a nearby island. It was also thanks to Golden Lion's good luck, otherwise it would have drowned without Luo Jia's help if it had fallen into the sea. As for the people who saw this scene, they were dumbfounded. 0. They had just learned from the veterans around them how terrifying the legendary pirate Golden Lion was. But when they saw this scene, the expressions on their faces were like constipation. Especially those veterans who praised Golden Lion were embarrassed to the point of being speechless. You were beaten for pretending to be cool, and you are called Golden Lion. Tui. Some people spit directly. After a while, there was a loud bang, and the island suddenly exploded, and countless stones floated up. And Golden Lion rushed out in a very embarrassed manner, suspended in the air. There is a saying that goes, don't pretend to be cool, or you will be struck by lightning. Luo Jia looked at Golden Lion with a smile. Yuck. Hearing this, Golden Lion instantly became furious. Originally, Golden Lion just wanted to show off and leave, so that he could show off his presence and give Luo Jia a warning and declare his own status. Originally, everything went according to his script, but at the last critical moment, he was shot down by the other party. This time, his face was swollen. Luo Jia. You are looking for death. The furious Golden Lion waved his hands, and countless rocks and seawater rolled up, forming a huge lion head. Under the shocked gaze of countless marines, the lion head, which was larger than a large island, roared to the sky, and a tsunami occurred within a radius of 1,000 meters. As this, the real power of Golden Lion Shiki. Before, the marines all despised Golden Lion and thought he was just a name for nothing. But seeing this scene, they all showed shock. This is the power of the legendary pirate Golden Lion Shiki. Condensing a lion head that is larger than a large island and almost covers the sky. Moreover, in the lion head, you can see some sea kings several hundred meters long, trapped inside. This almost mythical scene has made countless Marines weak in the knees. Lion Majesty. Earth coiling. The golden lion looked coldly at Luo Jia below, and a terrifying killing intent rose up. With a low roar, the huge lion head bit down at Luo Jia. The huge mouth that covered the sky and the sun seemed to swallow everything. This scene made the Marines on the G1 branch warships show fear. Hina and Ain were calm and composed, and the two women were not afraid at all. Because they all knew that Luo Jia would never sit idly by. Facing the huge lion head that covered the sky, Luo Jia just casually snapped his fingers. At the moment of snapping his fingers, a black flash area suddenly appeared in front of him. In an instant, the whole world darkened, and the huge lion head was frozen in midair. Another trick that looks good but is useless. Luo Jia shook his head with a hint of disappointment in his eyes. You can be crazy as much as you want, I will make you cry later, Luo Jia kid. Golden Lion's face changed, becoming more ferocious, and immediately increased the output of his ability. No need to wait, I will make you cry now. Quote, Luo Jia smiled grimly, and countless black lightnings immediately shot out from the entire black flash field. Then, under the shocked gaze of countless people, this lion head, which was larger than a large island, was silently annihilated. This shocking scene made everyone dumbfounded. Under the sunlight, the black flash field was like a black hole, and all the matter sucked in would be annihilated. Seeing that his lion majesty was solved by Luo Jia with a snap of his fingers. Even the golden lion, who had seen many storms, could not help but be horrified at this moment. It's this conqueror's embodiment again, it's really tricky. Quote, Lion, Thousand Slice Valley. Golden Lion finally went all out, and the swords on his legs slashed fiercely. In an instant, countless golden slashes tore through the sky and fell madly towards Luo Jia's position. As a legendary pirate, Golden Lion certainly couldn't rely on lion fruit alone. His swordsmanship was also very terrifying. Push harder, you have no spirit at all, you want to kill people with such a soft slash. But facing Golden Lion's Thousand Slice Valley, Luo Jia simply disdained it and was too lazy to move. He just glared. The void darkened instantly, and the black flash field swallowed countless golden slashes and annihilated them in midair. The violent aftermath rippled, and everyone looked up at the sky with horror. Fortunately, these aftermaths did not fall, otherwise even if one aftermath fell, it would be enough to destroy the warship. Legendary level battle. They had seen it some time ago, but they didn't expect that they would be lucky enough to see it again after a week. So that everyone was shocked and immersed in it. Even Hina and Ain also had some medical gods on their faces after seeing this level of battle. They originally thought that they were strong enough and might not be far from the top of the sea. But when they watched the battle scenes of Whitebeard and Golden Lion one after another, they realized how naive their thoughts were. Is this a battle between gods? An old Marine soldier murmured absent-mindedly. If the previous battle between Luo Jia and Whitebeard was legendary, then this time, the battle between Luo Jia and Golden Lion was epic. It was a battle scene that ordinary people could not imagine at all. In the field, is this not your full strength? If so, then Golden Lion, you are really lame. Quote, after destroying Thousand Slice Valley, the contempt on Luo Jia's face became more and more obvious. He was just short of confronting Golden Lion, arrogantly patting his face, and greeting his whole family. Anyway, in Golden Lion's eyes, Luo Jia was so arrogant at this time. Golden Lion was furious. Luo Jia grinned, and secretly condensed a ball of lightning the size of a fingernail. Then, he flicked his finger in the direction of Golden Lion. The next moment, a black flash as thick as a bucket instantly broke through the void and rushed towards Golden Lion. This black flash was somewhat similar to Sero in Shinigami, and everything it passed by turned into nothingness. In just a blink of an eye, it arrived in front of Golden Lion. Not good. Golden Lion was shocked. Seeing that it was too late to dodge, he could only split his legs to block the black flash. A cross-shaped slash met the black flash emitted by Luo Jia's finger. But the next moment, the cross-shaped flash and the black flash collided and disappeared instantly like a bubble. The black flash continued to penetrate Golden Lion's body. Quote. At this moment, Golden Lion finally showed a look of horror. He never expected that Luo Jie just flicked his finger and launched such a terrifying attack. Even with his full-strength resistance, it was useless. At this time, the black flash was approaching. Golden Lion shouted, and instantly used armament Haki emission to cover his entire body. As a legendary pirate, Golden Lion's Conqueror's Haki has also been trained to ultimate. After covering his entire body with emission, he replaced the Deadwood and Sakura 10 on his legs, and also wrapped Conquerors. At this time, Black Flash finally arrived. Black Flash first hit Deadwood and Sakura 10, and a circle of shock waves appeared in the sky, and then the space made a sizzling sound. Since Luo Jie awakened Conquerors, due to the blessing of this invincible body, his control over Conquerors is almost superb. Don't underestimate the black flash that is only emitted by a flick of a finger. The power is definitely comparable to Red Hair's Divine Avoidance Sword. This black flash has been completely materialized, and the power contained in it is enough to penetrate the world. Golden Lion's face was ferocious, trying to suppress and resist the black flash. But unfortunately, the two big swords, Kumu and Sakura 500, were instantly broken under the impact of the black flash. Seeing this scene, Golden Lion looked unbelievable. But at this point, he had no way to retreat. Ah! Golden Lion roared to the sky and fought hard, but he couldn't hold it back. The black flash completely broke the two swords, then pierced through emission and Golden Lion's body, and flew directly to the end of the sky. In Golden Lion's senses, it seemed like a long time had passed, but in the outside world, only 1 second had passed. Although it was only 1 second, those who captured this scene felt cold and horrified by this blow. What is that? It actually pierced through the sky directly. Is it over? Countless people looked up at the sky, muttering with dull faces. If there were newsbirds recording from high altitude at this time, they would be shocked to find that this black flash not only pierced through the sky, but also hit the other side of the world. Finally, an uninhabited island in the front half of the Grand Line was sunk. In the sky, Golden Lion's body was still floating. However, a bloody hole had been opened in his chest, and a trickle of blood was flowing out. There was still a trace of fear and confusion in his eyes. It seemed that even now, he still couldn't believe that he would die. No one expected that this epic battle would end so quickly. Golden Lion invaded naval headquarters alone, faced Garp and Sengoku at their peak, and also destroyed half of naval headquarters. It is conceivable how terrifying Golden Lion was at his peak. Even though he lost his legs and was old, Golden Lion at least retained his admiral combat power. But even so, he was still killed instantly when facing Luo Jie. At this time, Golden Lion finally understood why Whitebeard was defeated. It was because Luo Jie's power had broken through the standards of this world, and it was not an exaggeration to say that he was a god. Even if Rox was resurrected, it would probably end up like him. Golden Lion's consciousness gradually blurred, and his palm tried to grab the sun in the sky. Unfortunately, before he raised his hand, Golden Lion fell into endless darkness and his body fell into the sea. So far, Golden Lion Shiki. Fall. Countless Marines stared at this scene in a daze. Their brains had crashed and they didn't know what to say. At this time, another prompt sound came from Luo Jie's mind. Ding! Congratulations host for completing a personal achievement and killing Golden Lion. The current task completion is perfect. Ding! Reward host Love at First Sight card +1. Ding! Reward host Mental Strengthening card +1. Ding! Reward host Physical Agility card +1. Ding! Reward host Full Level Moonwalk card +1. Ding! Reward host Full Level Shave card +1. Ding! Life Limiter Release Progress 30%. Full Level Moonwalk card, good stuff. Seeing this card, Luo Jie's eyes lit up. Originally, Luo Jie was not interested in other abilities, but seeing Golden Lion flying in the sky before aroused his interest in flying. With this full-level Moonwalk card, although he can't fly like Golden Lion, at least he can walk in the air. Moreover, with this invincible body, Luo Jie can completely strengthen the full-level Moonwalk again, making it as effective as flying. Luo Jia decisively merged the full-level Moonwalk card, and put all other cards into the system space. Then, Luo Jia returned to the G1 branch warship. Sir, seeing Luo Jia coming back, Hina and Ain immediately surrounded him. Let's go back. We just got some good stuff. By the way, we can increase your strength. Quote. After saying that, Luo Jia and the two women entered the cabin. Compared to the boring battle of Golden Lion, it is more interesting to help his own women improve their strength. After all, the stronger they are, the more help they can provide to Luo Jia in all aspects. Unknowingly, another month has passed. It has been a month since Luo Jia officially became Marine Admiral. However, although Luo Jia was promoted to Admiral, his position has not changed at all. He is still in charge of the G1 branch base. It's just that he has changed from the previous base chief to the 4th Admiral now. And Luo Jia's Admiral code name is very interesting. There is no messy code name. He is directly called Luo Jia Admiral. He uses his own name as a code name, which is unique among admirals. As for Hina and Ain, the two women are Luo Jia's personal adjutants, and their status naturally rises with the tide. Hina was promoted from Rear Admiral to Vice Admiral, and Ain was promoted from Colonel to Rear Admiral. However, due to their lack of military merit and qualifications, they did not get special promotion. In fact, with the strength of the two women, they are definitely qualified to be Admiral candidates. At present, Hina and Ain have completely consumed their previous cards. In addition, Luo Jia gave them new fusion cards, and their strength was once again raised to a higher level. Luo Jia also specifically asked Kizaru to have a competition with the two women. As a result, in that competition, the two women teamed up to suppress Kizaru, which made Kizaru very depressed. Of course, if Kizaru used the awakening ability, the result of the competition would be completely different. Judging from this, the strength of the two women alone is probably comparable to that of a mid-level admiral, and they are enough to match a high-level admiral together. As for the peak admiral, they are still a long way off. G1 branch base, Gaokong conference room. Sir, our warships on duty have encountered trouble recently. At this time, Hina reported the progress of work to Luo Jia. Oh, what trouble? Luo Jia was a little surprised. Nowadays, everyone in the New World knows that you can provoke anyone, don't provoke the $1 leather base. In this case, there are still people who dare to cause trouble to the G1 branch base. Yes, a warship we sent out on duty. After passing through the calm belt, all the people on the warship turned into stone. Quote. Hina looked solemn. Oh, turned into stone. Or in the calm belt. Could it be that the queen did it? Luo Jia was really surprised this time. But he thought about it carefully and it was really possible. The pirate queen was an extremely arrogant person. If the warship on duty offended her first, she would probably really take action and would not care about Marine at all. Sir, you guessed right. According to the intelligence, it should be the pirate queen Boa Hancock. When talking about this name, Hina's tone was also full of curiosity. Oh, is it this woman? That's really not easy to deal with. Luo Jia pondered for a moment. The pirate queen is Shichibukai, and is still in a honeymoon period with the world government at this stage. It is really not easy for Marine to intervene in such matters. However, this does not include Luo Jia. Well, give me a map of Nine Snake Island, and I'll go there myself. Since the pirate queen dares to touch our people, I'll make her pay the price. Luo Jia said seriously. As for what he thinks in his heart, only he knows. Is that so? I thought the commander coveted the beauty of the pirate queen and wanted to take her into his pocket. Hina snorted coldly. Hina-chan, you are wronging me. In my heart, only you and Ain-chan are my favorites. No matter how beautiful other women are, I don't care at all. Seeing his woman jealous, Luo Jia hurried forward to comfort her. As for how to comfort, is there any need to say it? Of course, it's coaxing and deceiving. No, it's sweet talk. No lies. It's natural for women to be jealous. If they can't be coaxed back in time, it will turn into a Shira field in minutes. Under Luo Jia's earthy love words. No, it was under the sweet words that Hina finally smiled and her jealousy was greatly reduced. In fact, Hina is not a jealous woman, she also knows Luo Jia's romantic nature. She just wants to see if Luogia really cares about her, and the result makes her very satisfied. Do you need to notify the accompanying personnel? Hina, who has regained her good mood, asked Luogia softly. Compared with the previous attitude, it is a 180-degree reversal, as gentle as it can be. Give me a sea chart of Juche Island and a medium-sized warship. Luogia immediately put forward his request. Hearing this, Hina took out a sea chart and handed it to him. Remember to go early and come back early, because of the official. Don't worry, I will be back soon. Then Luogia left the base with a sea chart and a warship. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.